We are back with Peter Ticktin, Samantha Markle's lawyer, and we are about to talk about Bouzy and how badly he defamed her. Welcome to Popcorn Planet, and this is the interview with Peter Ticktin, part 2. So happy to have him here with us. Thank you so much for being here, sir.
It's my pleasure, truly.
I want to break these down where we actually have the guests here, important guests, giving us the information, getting us to the facts. And that's the part of this new series where we bring people in and get to the bottom of it. And if you missed part 1 of our series, we went through Oprah's interview as well as the beginning portion of the Netflix documentary where, yes, Meghan says a lot of defameful and dishonest things about her sister Samantha. And I wanted to focus on this part for part 2 because I think this was an integral part of your case. And when I heard you guys in the courtroom, you make a very good point. Christopher Bouzy basically says Samantha Markle is leading this hate group of awfulness online. And the way it's all painted, it really does feel like she's almost a ringleader in it. And I want you I want to watch this clip and give you the floor to explain more of this. But let's just show the audience what we're talking about because I think the clip is very telling. Here we got to meet Christopher Bouzy in Harry and Meghan's documentary on Netflix, which they produced, mind you. So all of Bouzy's statements, therefore, are also through Meghan and Harry. And he goes on to explain the terror that they lived.
Whittle has looked at everything from QAnon to MAGA to COVID disinformation to climate change disinformation. We've never seen anything quite like this.
Hold on, I have one I've adjusted a little bit more.
Whittle has looked at everything from QAnon to MAGA to
this
COVID
this right at the beginning. I just to clear up, like they're setting this up as literal terrorist organization is how it plays to me. He's listing all these terribly awful organizations. Can you believe it? But the Meghan Markle hate group was worse than them all. I mean, it's a pretty big buildup, is it not, Peter?
That he's never seen anything like this. All you have to do is look at what he does himself. If he wants to find anything like that, what he's talking about. I mean, this is what they do. You know, it's so amazing. You know, the one thing you can tell about these people is look at what they're accusing others of, and that's what they're doing.
He's been exposed to that. We're going to break that down, but here he is continuing to talk about how this is the worst thing Bouzy's ever seen.
Anything quite like this.
What was interesting to me about that report is that it showed
author of Algorithms of Oppression
that there were a handful of accounts.
What's that, 5?
Could be, right? You're a lawyer, right? That's vague enough that I could be 2. No, 3. What's more? A handful's at least more than 2.
A handful of accounts. I don't know how many accounts can you put in
your hand.
You know, you know, maybe an account is a whole cup. I don't know how you measure that. I mean, you know, how heavy is it even? An account.
Some of these accounts are heavy.
Just bots, but they were people who were highly coordinated and deeply
networked
and responsible for the vast majority of hate propaganda.
Now, again, you just said it. There's a handful of people who were responsible for this, right? There were some bots, but there were a handful of people.
Propaganda, yes.
Yep, of hate propaganda against the couple. Look at all this hate, everybody.
Hate has a special word now. Hate, you know, hate doesn't mean the opposite of love or, you know, that emotion. Hate means that you're a bigot, that you're a racist, and that you're dealing in hate, because the way she's using it, it's like a hate crime type of hate, okay? If it fits within these parameters, then we can call it hate.
Well, and just as a production person, editor, there's so much manipulation in the edit of this documentary. They're using crowd shots from other big events. They're using tweets. They're repeating tweets in this thing. You can see it. And they're talking about all the racist stuff, but it's Meghan Markle effed one ugly dude. I've effed other people deserve to be insanely wealthy too. Like, I'm sorry. That's just Twitter. It's not some weird racist egregious thing. They're just saying Prince Harry's ugly and he's wealthy. It's kind of insane now he's painting this 114,000 and the way the sinister music plays. There's an intent here, is there not?
Of course. And the most important fact is, if you want to look at facts, is Samantha Markle never sent any of these. She was not tweeting any hate in any way, shape, or form to anybody. She's just a normal person. You know, she didn't have an agenda to hurt her sister.
But here we go, continuing with Bouzy saying 114,000 tweets.
114,000 tweets. And we were able to then determine that 70% of the hateful.
We have no idea how he did this, guys. In fact, I don't believe he did this. In fact, just so before we even hear his nonsense, Newsweek got responses from Twitter who confirmed there's no evidence of anything that Bouzy's spouting here. This is all nonsense.
Content came from just 83 accounts. And they had
these numbers are so arbitrary.
17 million people. So this is not your everyday trolling.
This is not your everyday trolling. The fight of Meghan Markle's life. They are coming for her life, Peter. This is like, he's painting this like a terrorist organization, is he not?
Yeah, and it's all against an innocent sister. It's all against Samantha.
I don't want to interrupt, but yes, because watch what Bouzy's about to say, guys.
About what they would discuss for that particular day or week, what pictures they should disseminate. They were actively recruiting people, telling people how to create multiple accounts, how to use VPNs, virtual private networks, to hide the IP so they don't get suspended. It's insane.
No, what's insane is I had to add this interstitial because YouTube wouldn't let me play this clip for you. Apparently having the lawyer on of Samantha Markle, who is disputing this actual quote in a court of law, wasn't enough commentary for YouTube to deem this video worthy. So I'm here to tell you that yes, we are watching this clip because legally this is a clip that is in a court of law currently by this very lawyer that is fighting Meghan Markle. So let's continue to watch the clip.
It was done by people who were just not the typical quote-unquote trolls. These are housewives. These are middle-aged Caucasian women creating just constant attacks from go back to America to basically, why don't you die?
Now, what's interesting is they never kept screenshots of those threats. Conveniently, those are never seen on the actual documentary itself. But what's also interesting is how Bouzy seems to know what the average troll looks like. Because it's him. And typically, when the walls are closing in on a con man, he's got to throw the scent to someone else. Enter Samantha Markle.
Samantha Markle was part of the group that was putting out a lot of this disinformation. Samantha had her account suspended, and then we actually sent Twitter a list because she had like 11 additional accounts.
How the hell would he know that? How would he know how many accounts she made?
And you can find that out. And there were accounts that were made by people that were doing that to her. Okay, once she became an enemy of the Sussex Squad, then all kinds of things started happening. She got stalkers. She had death threats. She had people interfering with her different accounts on social media. She had to basically almost go into hiding from what was going on. When I say you can destroy somebody's life, I mean that you can almost destroy somebody's life. And
right, which is what this Netflix is saying they're all doing to Meghan and Harry, but they're making millions, living the high life, while Samantha's now being thrown in the gutter as this grifter, sociopath, terrorist leader, is how it plays.
How can the half-sister of Meghan be part of a hate group?
There it is, the word hate group again. So now here's an important difference in terms of the way Meghan Markle approached this with her motion to dismiss and the reality of the way it needed to be looked at. So in her motion to dismiss, she's basically saying that when he says she's part of a group, you can't attribute things to people that are in that group. And they use the case where there were people that put up basically Confederate flags. And there was a statement made against people in the group of people that put up Confederate flags that they're racists. And the courts basically have come to, their decision in that case, which is consistent with other law, is you can't just say that everyone who puts up a Confederate flag is automatically a racist. The one thing you can say, and this is what I pointed out to the judge, is that everyone who puts up a Confederate flag puts up a Confederate flag. So if you say, I have a group of people here which is made up, and I'm making up this group, I'm defining it as the people that are putting up Confederate flags. Well, the only thing that we know about each person in that group is that they're putting up Confederate flags. So when Bouzy says that Samantha Markle is a member of the group that sowed disinformation, what he's basically saying is, well, that doesn't necessarily mean that she's a racist. It doesn't necessarily mean that she's even, it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean she's a seamstress. It doesn't mean that she knows how to teach. It doesn't mean anything. All it means is that she puts out this information, but that is significant because he's accusing her of basically giving out this information. And the one thing we know about this information is that it's false. Otherwise, it wouldn't have that label. So she's supposedly giving out false information about her sister, and that's what he thought he could get away with. These people probably had good lawyers that were counseling them in terms of, you can say this and you can say that, but if you say this, you're gonna have liability. So they thought as long as they could throw her into a group, that they're not defining what she actually is or does well enough to be able to be held accountable. But they define the group, though, as something with a negative characteristic. So in order to be in that group, you've got to have that negative characteristic. So it's not the same thing as the case they tried to use regarding the group that's defined by putting up Confederate flags. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
And it's interesting because the context of everything leading up to the Bouzy, everything now Bouzy says about this terrorism group, this online harassment, is now, it weirdly seems like it's run by, maybe Samantha and a couple others, but it's clearly run by Samantha. This implication, by the way I watch it as a third party, it does feel like Samantha was behind it. This idea that she was starting and stopping accounts and doing all these things is extremely untruthful and defamatory.
Yeah. I mean, who else would have an agenda to cause harm? Maybe a sister that feels slighted. So this has to be Samantha, but it isn't. Samantha, it turns out she's just not a person who's engaged in that activity at all. She is not a troll in her own right or as a member of any group of people that are trolls. It's just not her.
And Bouzy just is not the expert he paints himself to be either. For those that don't know, he also helped Amber Heard during some periods as well. He sort of connects himself to these weird liars, and he's been exposed. He's had multiple lawsuits, multiple failed businesses. There's just a lot at where does this data coming from? If this case were to go forward and there is a discovery, do you feel like you'd have the opportunity to try to find some more of those that information? I know a lot of fans are hoping they could. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, well, I think this guy is a self-proclaimed expert. It's not as though he's been educated in this way. It's not like he has a degree from Harvard on this information. He has probably an army of bots, that are out there that are helping to destroy whoever that is that the Sussex Squad needs to destroy. I don't know how many people are in the Sussex Squad. I don't know whether it's 2 or whether it's 100. I don't know if they're being paid by Meghan Markle or not being paid by Meghan Markle. Although the word is, that we hear is that these people are paid. I don't know whether they are or not, and I can't say at this point. But we're going to look into these things. This is what our discovery is about to a great extent.
And so, because there was an argument that it seemed Meghan's camp seemed to be forcing, because, and again, factual and all of the things we're saying, hence the lawsuit and looking in the discovery of how involved is Bouzy. That's what we all want to know. But there's been enough examples and actions by his own that's made us all very question him. And I guess the point being is Meghan's camp just sort of said, well, Meghan's not responsible for what Bouzy's saying here. Bouzy's saying his own dumb words, so why is this even part of it? But you made a very good argument in court, and you're right, because Meghan is a producer. She is therefore now partly accountable for what anybody in this documentary is saying about others. You feel confident in that?
Yes, it's not the fact that she has any control of what he says, but she has control as to whether or not she put it in the program or not. So she's the one that published it.
Because I remember that the judge sort of questioned that at a certain point and brought it up again, and you made that very clear, and it did seem to really go through the judge's mind, who you've said is very smart and has been taking all this very seriously. Do you think that's ultimately going to harm Meghan more than she realized.
It should cost her the case. That alone should cost her the case. I mean, what's going on here is absolutely horrible. And you got this lady. I mean, it's almost mind blowing when you think about it. How many people in your audience do you think are at such terrific odds with members of their own family that they would malign them on a program that's going to have millions and millions of viewers? I mean, who would do such a thing to a relative, to a sister or a half sister? Who would ever do such a thing? And yet, she not only is maligning her own family, she's also maligning her husband's family. I mean, how many do a double whopper? How many have both sides, and are completely estranged from both? And how many are completely estranged from all these people that used to be close to them, that are right about what they're doing and saying? I mean, there's a lot to be wondering about this couple. You got Harry, who's a member of the Aspen Institute, which wants to basically curtail the freedom of speech in this country. You got Harry, who's basically said that the First Amendment is just bonkers. There's no respect for it. They want to stop people from being able to say what's not the popular or the approved thing to say. Because he's not just a member of the Aspen Institute. He's one of the 50 governors that are in that section of it that determine what is misinformation for the internet. And here you have this couple that have all this power to be able to do these things, and they push their own agenda, and I might say their own sick agenda when you look at it, especially when you look at somebody like Prince William and Catherine, and how Catherine is such a class act. But every time she does something, like lately, they did a charity thing, and it was picked up and followed. So all of a sudden, Meghan had to jump the gun on her charity thing to compete. Her sense of competition is so misplaced and so pathetic. You wonder why, and what is this agenda? What is going on here? But it fits in with the rest of what the craziness in this world is getting to be.
Well said. If you have a few more minutes, I have one more clip I want to play with you. I'd love for you to appear over on our Palace channel real quick as part of our 12 guests of Christmas, which we've had. Can we do that 10 more minutes with you, sir, as we watch this next clip? Is that okay?
Sure.
I love it. This man is the best. This interview has been incredible. I hope you guys have enjoyed it as well. I want to rack his brain about just the Markle family in general, and also why he took this case. So head on over to Popcorn Palace. We're going to have that video, and Peter will join us as one of our 12 guests of Christmas. So honored to have you here, sir. One more video coming with Peter, so make sure you hit that subscribe, hit that bell for all alerts, smash that thumbs up, and join us over on Palace for another installment here. Appreciate you guys so much, and stay tuned for more.